I bragged about other men during dinner. Then he turned our anniversary into a public breakup.
My 5th wedding anniversary was supposed to be a memorable one that I got to celebrate with my family and friends, but it turned into a nightmare because my husband decided to turn our anniversary into a public breakup with me because of what I said to him. I was humiliated in public, and I still can't get over the shame. It is still fresh in my memory, and I can't stop thinking about it. My husband knew how much I hate to be embarrassed, most especially in public. But he used that to his advantage to get back at me because of what I said to him. I bragged about having a number of men asking me to go on dates with them to my husband, and he decided to leave me. I didn't mean what I said at that particular time. I said it in the heat of the moment. Everything went back to normal after that argument, but I didn't know that it got to my husband, and he acted like nothing happened. My name is Patricia, and I am a 27-year-old entrepreneur. As an entrepreneur, I always try to involve myself in any kind of business ideas I get. I love the freedom of money. That's why I always try to make mine. I don't depend on my husband to give me money before I get what I need. Of course, my husband takes good care of me. In fact, he provided all my needs. But I still have to work and earn mine because making your own money feels really good. I am a realtor, nail technician, and also a makeup artist. Yes, I'm into a lot of things because making money is very important to me. I own my own place where I get to attend to my client, and I'm really proud of myself. My husband's name is John, and he is 28 years old. John is a very hardworking man just like me. You know, 2 lazy people can't marry each other, right? If they do, who gets to take care of the household bills and other expenses? John is a businessman, a successful one at that. Before John and I got married, we had a mutual agreement that I wouldn't be a full-time housewife. I made it clear to him so we won't have issues after marriage when I start working, and he agreed to it. There are some men that don't like their wives to work because they see no need for it, since they are capable of footing the bills. Well, John is a direct opposite of that. He loves his wife to make a living for herself. John and I have been married for 5 years now. Our 5th wedding anniversary turned out to be a breakup anniversary for us, but my husband and I have known each other for 7 years. We met each other when we were in college, final year to be precise. We started off as friends and dated for a few months. Things got heated up between us, and we decided to take our relationship to the next level. John and I got married after months of dating. Before I met John, I had been in a relationship with many men. Most of them were good-looking and hardworking as well. I never dated men that couldn't take care of my needs. Even though I earned my own money, I wanted my man to still foot my bills, and the ones I dated understood the assignment. Like I said earlier, I love the freedom of money, but I never folded my arms to be spent on all the time. So guys, after our marriage, my husband and I lived normal lives. Everything went smoothly, and we had no issues. 2 years after our wedding, my husband and I welcomed our first and only child, Haley. When Haley came into our lives, we were the happiest couple on earth. At that time, I was very happy to be a mother. Haley made motherhood so easy for me, and I couldn't ask for anything else. My husband also didn't hide his excitement, and it was great at first. But months after Haley was born, I had to focus on my business. The workload was too much for me, and I didn't want to overwork myself. I wanted to go back to my work because I was getting bored at home. At that time, I had no nanny or housekeeper. I did everything all by myself, including taking care of my child and the house. But after a few months, I decided to go back to my business because I felt like I was losing money. My business was lagging behind, and my staff weren't doing enough to my satisfaction at that time. And so, I felt the need to return back to my business. As a good wife that I was, I had a conversation with my husband about it. John had no issues with it and even proposed we hire the services of both a nanny and a house help that can take care of our child and also get to do some of the house chores. That way, it could relieve me of the work stress at home because it was taking a toll on me having to multitask at the same time. I know some of you would like to ask if working at the salon and being a makeup artist isn't multitasking. Well, it is, but like I mentioned earlier, I employed the services of staff at the salon. All I was doing at that time was supervising the workshop and putting things in order. I can only do that with a clear mind. My work isn't multitasking at all. Being experienced in that aspect for years wasn't too much for me to handle. But motherhood was a first for me. I found it hard to deal with it at first, but I was able to do it after some time. Plus, Haley didn't give me any hard time at all, at least to some extent. But I still needed the services of a nanny to do it for me because I couldn't handle it. When I told my husband about the idea of getting a nanny initially, he wasn't in full support of me, but had to agree with me because it was what I wanted. My husband saw reason with it and supported me. John was helpful in looking for agencies where we could employ one. He made sure the ones that were sent to us were interviewed by him. My husband never liked the idea of getting a nanny. He was someone that had trust issues. For someone else to take care of our child was a big deal for him. That was why he made it a point of duty to hire someone that he feels he could trust his daughter with without being worried about anything. So guys, my husband and I were able to hire a good nanny that could take care of our child for us. The process was tedious, but we managed to employ one of the best, if not the best. Her name is Sia, not real name by the way. With Sia, I had no worries about anything. I could leave my daughter with her for hours and everything went smoothly. My husband and I were hardly around. Due to the nature of my husband's job, he barely had time at home during weekdays. But John tried his best to spend time with us on weekends. Despite his busy schedule, he is also around for any special occasions like birthdays and anniversaries. John was not only a responsible husband, but also a responsible father to our daughter. If I want to talk about how responsible and hardworking my husband is, then I would end up writing a book. John was the best thing that has ever happened to me. He was the perfect definition of a husband, father, and a friend. I allowed my pride to make the best of me. That was why I bragged about being asked out by men to my husband. At that point I said it without and didn't care about how he would feel. Well, I said it casually and didn't think it was a deal to me. It's a normal statement that sounded like a joke to everyone. Also, my husband can't dispute the fact that I am beautiful. My beauty was one of the things that made him approach me the first day we met. He should have been used to me being asked out by other guys rather than making it look as if it was a big crime. What got my husband really upset, according to him, was the fact that I had the audacity to tell him that in his face. After that argument, he suspected me of cheating on him. John said if I can brag about that, then it made sense to him that I was going out with one of those guys. None of the things he said that day made any sense to me because my husband had a lot of messages from random ladies wanting to go out with him, but I never said a word or made a scene out of it. Well, the only difference there was that my husband never replied to any of those messages. I replied to the guys that messaged me. In fact, I even flirted with some of them, but there were no strings attached. I flirted doesn't mean I cheated on my husband. You all might think it's cheating, but it isn't to me. Up till this moment, I still can't understand why my husband had the audacity to disgrace me the way he did on our anniversary night. I thought anniversary day is meant to be celebrated either with family and friends or just a simple celebration between the couple. Or have there been a change of plans that anniversary now means disgracing your partner in public, or my husband chose to humiliate me? Growing up, I hated being embarrassed or being a topic of discussion for the wrong reason. My husband knew about that and he used it to his own advantage. I'm the type of person that's keen on protecting my reputation and doesn't want to have anything to do with ruining one's image. My husband has successfully ruined that for me, and I can't even do the things I used to do with pride. John clipped my wings and brought me down from my high horse. Yes, I am well respected by friends, but all of that is never going to happen again because my husband has reduced me to nothing. The people that once respected and feared me are the ones that are spreading the anniversary breakup like wildfire. The rumors are spreading so fast with disgusting captions. Just to spice things up and make the topic more interesting, they attach my photos to it. I got so angry that I left the group chat. Seeing all of that drains me and makes me feel like I'm losing my mind. For my sanity, I exited the group. Even at that, new groups are being created almost every day, and they keep adding me to the group. I don't actually blame them, though. I blame John for giving such people the effrontery to mess with me the way they are doing. Even as I write this right now, I'm still being added to a whole lot of anonymous group chats. I suspected John to be the one behind it. After all, he told me he hadn't started with me the day I confronted him about me receiving a lot of messages from different groups. My husband keeps giving my contact information, and I don't know when this is going to end. According to my husband, Breaking up with me on our 5th wedding anniversary was a tip of the iceberg. He told me that I didn't know what was coming my way, and honestly, I underestimated him. I didn't take his words seriously. I thought to myself that the worst thing he did that broke me was disgracing me in public, but I never thought sharing my contacts was part of it. Guys, those captions attached to my pictures are horrible. There were times I cried after reading them, and there were days I replied to all of those things that were being said about me. I couldn't keep up with that, because I discovered that there was just too much for me to handle, and they never stopped coming. All I did was cry helplessly, and I kept blocking them all. Honestly, it's very heartbreaking for me. What even got me upset the most was John taking Haley from me that day. He left with our child and warned me not to come any close to them. In front of my child, he called me an irresponsible mother because I left my child to grow up in the hands of a nanny. Apparently, my husband supported me in hiring a nanny at first, but that was because our child was just a few months old and there was a need to get one since I complained of getting tired easily because of the household chores and nursing Haley. But after Haley was a year and 6 months old, I had a change of mind about the type of job I wanted to do. I was an entrepreneur who was a makeup artist and a nail technician at the time our child was born, but I wanted to do something more along the line. Aside from being an entrepreneur, I had the qualifications of a realtor. I'm a realtor, like I mentioned earlier. I decided to be an entrepreneur because I had the spirit of entrepreneurship, and also I wanted to have a fit first. That was why I concluded to put my qualifications into practice. At that time, I also thought about managing the salon, and also traveling out as the job I had wanted to do demanded it. After much thought, I came to the conclusion of running the salon, and so I entrusted it to my manager who had worked with me for a long time. I made sure to give a thorough thought about my decision before I approached my husband. My husband didn't buy the idea and refused it immediately. He told me that there was no way that I would be a realtor and have time to take care of our child. John said he never liked the idea of having our daughter to grow up in the care of a nanny. He only did it because I had requested it. John proposed lists of jobs I could if I didn't want to continue my salon business. He listed a number of them for me and told me that they won't take much of my time, but I refused because my mind was made up at that time. My husband also told me that he limited the way he worked just so he could come back and take care of our child even though Sia was around. John also said our child doesn't need nanny's care but her mom's. He told me not to allow Haley to grow up thinking that Sia was her real mom. We got into an argument that day, and I told him that Sia was just doing the job she was paid to do and that I see no wrong in that. I told my husband that being a realtor doesn't mean I was going away from my child forever. It was just a few days or weeks, and he made it look like it's a forever kind of thing. Yes, John limited the way he traveled out and came back home late at night just to spend time with us, most especially Haley. My husband was the one that took care of our child most times at night. Sia's job didn't include sleeping over at our place. Most times my husband took over from wherever Sia stopped for the day, and I had no problem with it. It felt like a big relief to me. I'm not trying to say that I didn't get close to my child or nurse her. I did, but it wasn't as often as Sia and my husband did. That day, what even got me upset was the fact that my husband told me that I might get really exposed to nasty people if I started traveling out. Traveling out was not a big deal to me. In fact, I have been to quite a number of places with my parents when I was a teenager. My husband saw how angry I was by that statement, but he calmly told me that he wasn't trying to stop me from doing the job I desired, but that I should reconsider my decision for the sake of our child because she needed her mom more than a nanny. John also told me to look into the list of options he had given me, and he would support me in any I chose to go with. But at that moment, my mind was already made up to go back to being a realtor. I didn't want my qualifications to go in waste just like that. I had a desire for it, and there was nothing that my husband would say that was going to change my mind at that point. I told my husband that my decision was final and my mind was already made up. My husband didn't stress further at that moment. He just looked at me and then stood up from where we were having that conversation. After that conversation, my husband left me to do whatever I wanted. Everything was fine between us, and that argument didn't affect the way we related with each other. After a few weeks of that discussion, I started working on being a realtor. It wasn't easy at first, especially in getting clients to buy property. Convincing someone to buy property that was going for a high rate was not so easy. But I worked so hard and I was able to achieve my aim at that time. So guys, honestly, my husband was right about me not having time for our child. I was barely at home and I barely had time for myself. I traveled out of town and most times I couldn't communicate with my husband because most of the places I went to had network issues. My daughter were taken care of by Sia. She did an amazing job in taking care of everything for me anytime I was away. That was what my husband never wanted. He loved the services of Sia, but didn't like the fact that our daughter was getting too attached to her nanny instead of me. So guys, my job went on for about a year, and at that time, Haley was 2 years and 6 months old. The most heartbreaking part of it was when I missed my child's 2 years birthday party. I was caught up with work that I couldn't fly down to be with her like it should have been. John didn't take it lightly with me. He was very upset with me, and he didn't hide it. When I finally got into town, John reminded me of how my job was taking it all out on him and our child. My husband said I couldn't make time to come for my own daughter's birthday because of some stupid work. He asked if the work was more important than Haley. I got angry and told him never to compare my daughter with my job, because my daughter comes first before anything. My husband told me that it was clear that I loved my job more than I loved Haley. He said if I had cared like I claimed, I wouldn't have missed her second-year birthday party. My husband said he told me to do jobs with less stress and time-consuming so that I would give the motherly attention our daughter needed at that time. John said he noticed that my character had changed and also noticed how I was always on the phone talking with people for long hours. He made an instant where I was feeding Haley her lunch and didn't pay full attention to what I was doing. I got carried away with whoever I was talking to on the phone. Immediately, I asked John what he was trying to say because I didn't understand where he was driving. John said he had told me that traveling out would get me exposed and that he suspected me cheating on him. That really got me upset, and I asked John why he suspected me of doing that. My husband told me that he had every right to suspect me in everything that I was doing because I wasn't paying attention to the marriage or our child. I told John that if I had the intention to cheat on him, I would have done it a long time ago, even before I started the realtor job, because I have a number of men messaging me and pleading with me to go on a date with them, and that if I had wanted, I would have done it without him noticing anything. I brought out my phone and showed him some of the unread messages and told my husband that if I reply to any of those messages, there are men that are ready to go on a date with me. My husband got angry and asked me what I meant by that. I told John that he shouldn't disrespect me or talk to me anyhow because I have a number of guys at my beck and calling, and with just a phone call, I would get a good number of them. My husband didn't say anything after I said that to him. He left me just the way he did the first time we had the argument about my decision to be a realtor. I was so upset with my husband that day that I followed him to the room. I hated the fact that he always left me any time we had an argument. It made me look like I was crazy, and I looked like someone that nagged a lot. I went over to John's place and asked him why he had gone silent all of a sudden. My husband looked at me and said he had enough and had better things to do with his time rather than exchange words with me at that moment. John then got dressed and left the house with Haley. My husband came back a few hours later. I suspected that he had taken a walk with Haley because it was a way for him to not exchange words with me, according to him. A few days after that argument, my husband didn't show that he was upset by anything. He acted normal like he always did any time we had any argument or disagreed on something. No matter what happens, we always get to settle at the end of the day. I got used to it and went on with my life. I even continued my job. My husband stopped complaining about my absenteeism. At some point I was surprised, but then I thought to myself that it was for the best because I saw nothing wrong with me working and doing what I wanted. As for my child, I always had her best interest in mind, just that I don't have the time my husband wanted me to spend with her. After that argument with John, I totally forgot about what I said. My husband also moved on from that, and we related normally with each other. In fact, at that time we had that argument, John and I were 4 years and 6 months of being married together. It was just 4 months to our 5th wedding anniversary, and my husband and I thought about celebrating it together in a small way, just between the two of us like we usually do. But this year, our families wanted us to celebrate it bigger since it was our 5th year together. They proposed the idea John and I thought about it and agreed to it. After all, 5 years is no small joke, guys. So my husband and I started making preparations for the anniversary. We even got supported by our families the little way they could. While I was busy with the preparation for our wedding anniversary, my husband was busy planning how he would humiliate me, but I didn't know and thought everything was fine. If I had known, I wouldn't have agreed to invite people over for the event. Like I said earlier, the anniversary was a special one. It meant everything to me at that time. Not just because it was our first time celebrating it in front of our relatives, friends, and colleagues, but because John and I had gone through ups and downs together and I couldn't believe we could get to that stage. And so I took time to plan the event. I made sure to put everything in place and also supervised how things would be done that day. I told my husband to leave everything to me, and he did. I never thought that I was planning for my own downfall. Like, guys, if anyone had told me that my 5th wedding anniversary would be a nightmare, I would have called that person crazy. I never imagined that my husband would do that to me. If I had known, I wouldn't have wasted my time or showed up for the event that day. I would have just had a small bottle of wine and drink over it. The day of the anniversary came, and I was overwhelmed with joy. I was happy that day, and everyone around me could attest to it. My husband, on the other hand, was also happy. John even gave me a kiss, and we wished ourselves a happy anniversary together. I got my husband a gift that day and told him how happy I was to do life with him. The gift I got from John was a wristwatch. It was a small gift, and he appreciated it. After unboxing the gift I got for John, he told me I would have to wait a bit longer for my gift. My husband told me that the gift he got for me was a special one that I would have to unbox in front of everyone. He said it was his little way of telling our families and friends how much he loved and valued me. I was touched by his words, and I got a bit emotional knowing how much John loved me. I couldn't wait for the gift my husband thought was so important that he wanted me to unbox it in public. I felt like a princess in a fairy tale love that moment. I just couldn't wait for the time to come. I counted hours to the event. The time was fixed at 7 in the evening. It was on a Saturday evening, and so it was a convenient time for people to show up for the event. So, guys, the day of the event came, and my husband chose a nice outfit for me. The theme of the event was an emerald green. Since we were the hosts, John and I had a different shade of green. When we got to the venue, everyone was seated waiting for our arrival. We walked into the hall like we were newlyweds. The moment we walked in together, everyone was cheering for us. I was happy and nervous at the same time. John and I moved, got separated, and talked with a few people we knew. We chatted with them for a while before it was time for the toast, and everyone requested to have something to say. They wanted us to give a slight peek of how we got to where we were. Of course, we were more than happy to share with them. Well, me to be precise. John and I got up to the stage holding our hands together. When we got there, my husband proposed I went first to say my speech before him. I took the mic, and I started off by greeting everyone present at the event. I told them how happy I was that my husband and I were 5 years in marriage with a daughter. I told that I couldn't wish for anything else at that moment. I also told them that John and I have been through different ups and downs, but we managed to get through them. I didn't forget to mention how supportive John was to me and how I felt about him. Right there, I told everyone that I would get to choose John over and over again. That was where I ended my speech. Everyone cheered for me, and I handed over the mic to my husband for his speech. John collected the mic from me with a mischievous smile. I didn't understand why he did it. My husband started off by welcoming everyone and said how excited he was knowing that they could make it to the event on time. My husband continued by saying that all that I said was a lie. He said that our marriage has not been as what I had said, that I was just trying to spice things up to look like we had the best marriage. At that moment, I was shocked and I couldn't understand what was happening. For a second, I had to look at John to know if actually he was the one speaking at that moment. John also continued by saying I was an irresponsible mother to our child, that I was hardly around to take care of our child and I always left her in the care of Sia, her nanny. John told everyone how he had advised me not to leave our child with our nanny all the time, that Haley needed motherly attention, but I didn't listen to him. Instead, I decided to prioritize my work over our daughter and marriage. At that point, everyone was shocked to hear what was happening. Everyone brought out that phone to record what was going on. I was shocked and surprised as everyone that moment. Just before I knew what was happening, John told everyone to look at the projector that was meant to display our pictures and videos. Prior to that moment, the screen was displaying pictures of John and I together, but it got blank for a few seconds, and then what came after got me shocked and embarrassed. You all wouldn't believe it. My husband went through my chats with the men I had bragged of asking me out during the argument we had. Some of the chats were embarrassing to read because I flirted with a few. While that was displaying on the screen, my husband added the part where I said I had a number of men that were ready to take me out on a date. Immediately, I turned to John and told him to put an end to what he was saying, that we could settle whatever it was behind closed doors. My husband paid deaf ears to me and continued spilling a lot of things I said to him. To conclude his speech, he told everyone that he was done with the charade we called marriage and that he couldn't continue with it any longer. He also brought out a gift box and handed it over to me to unbox it myself. He said it was the wedding gift he wanted to give to me in the presence of everyone, and it would be nice if I opened it right there. Everyone asked me to open it to see what was inside. I refused because the embarrassment John gave me at that moment was more than enough for me. I wasn't ready for any more surprises, but everyone insisted I open it. After much pressure, I did, and it turned out to be divorce papers. John immediately told me that it would be best if I signed it as quickly as possible, and also told me that I would hear from him in court for custody of our daughter. At that point, I could not feel my legs. They were shaking really hard. I fell on my knees and pleaded with him to forgive me. I tried to explain that all I said was in the heat of the moment, and I never meant it. I also told John the flirting meant nothing to me because there were no strings attached. My husband ignored me and moved away from where I was. He apologized to everyone for keeping them waiting up till that moment and also for wasting their time because there was no anniversary from the beginning. Everyone was shocked to see that display. Up till now, it still feels like a movie to me. My husband left with Haley that night and strictly warned me not to come any closer to them until one of us wins custody of Haley. Guys, it's been a month without seeing my daughter, and even though I'm used to being away from her, this one just feels different. I would like you all to advise me on how to go about winning the divorce case because I don't want my husband to have full custody of our daughter. Update. Hello, Redditors. I'm back with an update with the last post. I know I have literally ghosted you guys for the past 2 years, but I wanted to make sure that I had my life back before coming to face you guys. The last time I was here, I talked about trying to get full custody of my child and how I pleaded with my husband to forgive me, right? Well, none of that ever happened. I never got full custody of my child and my husband divorced me. John hired a good lawyer to take up the case. The nature of my job was used against me in court. The lawyer even had the audacity to question my motherhood. I was literally embarrassed by how everything played out that day. At the end of the day, John and I were giving 50-50 custody of Haley. Guys, I can't really be happy because I got 50-50 custody of my child without child support. It's so heartbreaking, guys. Once in a while, I check up on how my daughter is doing. My ex-husband is really doing an amazing job, and there's no doubt about it. I really missed my husband and my daughter with me under one roof. Currently, our daughter is 5 years old today, and I went over to be with her. Ever since I missed her birthday, I made a promise to myself never to miss any of her birthdays or big moments. I now understand what John was trying to say to me at that time when he said I should have been there for our daughter more than her nanny. I was too focused on earning money and going after my passion. How I wished I had listened to him. But it's too late right now to cry over spilled milk. It's all in the past now, and I'm trying to improve myself and be a better mother for my daughter. I have not been the best to her ever since she was 6 months old, but the humiliation that day at the anniversary opened a lot of things to me. I regretted not having time for my daughter and marriage. I let it slip through my hands, and now I'm left with regret.
Need advice quickly. I got myself in a big mess. BC, I dated his friend, now he wants to divorce. I am in a very big mess because of my stupidity and desire for something new. I didn't know that he would find out about my abomination. He would actually want to end our union. I love him, and I actually don't see myself marrying another man. But him. What I did is ungodly and disgusting, but why would the consequences or karma deal with only me? Why am I the only one suffering while I was not alone in this whole thing? I know I am the one who is married, and I should have respected the vows that I had made in front of the Lord and our guests, especially our families. It was so evil of me to go against my vows and commit adultery while I am married. But it doesn't change the fact that I was not the only one performing the sinister. I dated his friend, so if he was to cut ties with me, he should also cut ties with his friends. But life is never fair on women's rights. All the guys' friendships have codes, right? I think they call it a bro code, a code whereby you vow not to either date or get into an intimate relationship with your friend's partner or sibling. The guy that I had cheated with had broken the code, but nothing was happening to him, while I was suffering the consequences of the actions that we had made. I really need help on this one. I am somehow confused, but I also want to fix my marriage with my husband. So my husband, Tony, male 35, and I, female 33, met at a mutual friend's wedding. Well, more like at my cousin's wedding. He was a friend of my cousin's husband. We were sitting at the same table. He was and still is a very handsome, clean, and sophisticated gentleman. I remember on the day we met, I had worn a very long dress, so it somehow tripped me and I almost fell. Imagine falling in front of all the people that were in that hall. It would have been such a bummer and embarrassing. So Tony luckily caught me beforehand since I was trying to stand when I tripped, and he was sitting next to me. His touch gave me goosebumps that I didn't even know I had. Not to mention his soft hands. It felt so right when they touched me. Even his gentle gesture was something else. What I felt for Tony was what I can call love at first sight. He didn't try much or said many words, but his gentleness and handsomeness drew me to him. During that day, we were talking and laughing. It was really nice to be with him. He was in good company. He made me forget about anything else. It felt like nothing was existing except for him and I. I even forgot that we were at my cousin's wedding. I had found a friend and also a lover there. I thought I had found the one my soul needed. He was my answered prayers, his gentleness, a big dreamer and a successful man who still had goals to be more successful than he was. I love a man who knows what they want and makes every means to get it. Mind you, at that time I had a plan of starting my own internet cafe and coffee shop, and with Tony's knowledge and skills in IT, I knew I had gained resources to help me start a successful internet cafe. It seemed like it was a blessing in disguise, you know. It felt like with Tony by my side, I would have everything figured out, and it would be successful with his intelligence on board. Since then, we became friends. He taught me a lot about IT that I didn't know. Well, I wanted to start an internet cafe because we didn't have one in Sicily, only in big cities, which was far from where I was staying. So I wanted to help my community get easy access on the internet without even having to go to the big city for it. I made it specifically for students so that they can have easy access to the internet and be able to find school projects information in it without having to waste more money to get to the big city to get it. Tony helped me start the internet cafe, which was very sweet and generous of him. I was glad for the service that he had delivered. He started being a computer tutor. Each and every minute that I would spend with him was always priceless. I still melted in his touch and his voice. It had that kind of thing that makes you feel like you have been given some voodoo, or he uses voodoo to make my heart palpitate. Months later, Tony declared his love for me. Well, I had already felt something for him, and I was falling pretty hard for him, but I couldn't tell him. I was protecting my heart from being rejected and my ego and pride. He told me how much he enjoys spending time with me and thanked the opportunity that I had given of trusting him with my community children and students. Well, Tony was not from Sicily. He had first come for the wedding, which was the first day that we had first met. So Tony and I dated for 2 years. We were still in the phase of knowing each other very well before we tied the knot. It was the best option, and it gave us time to learn more about each other. I was happy with the fact that Tony was not rushing to any marriage. Yes, we were committed to each other. About 1.5 years later, he popped the biggest question. My love for him kept escalating. I don't know if I was getting obsessed with Tony, but I couldn't live without him. Even if he was not around or we were not talking either on the call or text, I would feel like he was up to no good. You know when you try to contact your partner and his phone keeps either putting you on hold or gets to voicemail at the same time? I was somehow insecure and I didn't want any woman to even see my Tony's side. He was mine and mine alone. Well, Tony was residing in Agrigento in the southern coast of Sicily, while my home was in Piazza Armerina, which was about 1 hour and some minutes drive apart. So he would go home for like a week, then come to see me whenever he was free, or I would go to his city when I was not busy. Our love was like a flower. It kept blossoming every minute that we would spend with each other or when we were communicating. Months later, well, we had gotten 2 years of dating, so we got married on the day of our dating anniversary. You know, it's really nice and fulfilling having to spend the rest of your life with your favorite person who is also your partner. We got to share all our flaws, our dreams, our future, and plans. After getting married, we moved to Cefalù, where we wanted to start our own family. We were living the dream, and I couldn't be much happier. I mean, why wouldn't you be happy when you have been given a chance to spend the rest of your life with someone who you fell in love with on the first day that you saw him? I fell in love with Tony the day we had first met. Deep down, I knew that he was my soulmate and my caregiver. He didn't have to try hard to make me happy and feel complete. He knew how to make me feel better during my dull days. He always knew how to put a smile on my face. But you know, when I was to be asked why I cheated or dated his friend, I don't know how I would answer that question because I have no response for it. Anyway, time passed. Tony started getting too busy to spend time with me. Yes, the intimate moments were still fine, but I needed his attention and I wanted to spend more time with him. I mean, we had stayed far away from each other for almost 2 years when we were still dating. Ever since we got married, we had spent a couple of times together. We would go out, eat out, or go to play games. My relationship or my marriage with Tony was somehow great because we would always allow ourselves to be young again. Playing games, going out on ice cream dates, attending exhibitions together. We were stress-free and carefree. It was like we were in our very own dimension, living with our rules. So one sunny Saturday, Tony had left the house to buy meat. He had asked me to prepare something since his friends were coming over to celebrate his other friend's arrival in Italy. I have heard that he was residing in Los Angeles, LA, but now he had relocated to this side. So I prepared everything and Tony's other friends started coming with their partners. Of course, everyone was having a good time up until the man of the day arrived. You know when someone says, "I feel like I am looking at Jesus himself"? Well, that was what I felt. His body structure, cleanly trimmed mustache, his sexy hazel blue eyes. I was taken aback by the guy. He was really handsome. You know, the kind of handsome Leonardo DiCaprio. That was how he looked. His eyes looked naughty though, and I love being naughty. The guy was not at my wedding with Tony. I had heard that he was working since he was a doctor. The guy was introduced as Bradley, male, 33. His appearance was charming and mind-blowing. You know when you see someone for the first time and automatically feel attracted to them? That was how I felt with Bradley. I was not attracted to him because of his handsomeness only, but I would sometimes imagine myself being intimate with him. I imagined myself and him riding and grinding each other. My imaginations went wild to a point that I would see him exploring my whole body, his pinkish, sexy lips kissing every fiber of my body. I know it was wrong of me to drool and think like that for my husband's friend, but I couldn't help it. I mean, the guy was everything and more. I just wanted or craved for only one night with him, then it would have been enough for me. I am a witch and a loose cannon, I know. But how was I supposed to stop my mind and desire to think about the poor guy? Mind you, that time he was going to be staying with us for some time up until he gets his own place to stay. So imagine the torture and pressure that I would be feeling. I know it's sinister to have these kinds of thoughts for your husband's friend, but I couldn't help it. Only one night with him was going to solve everything. As much as I love my handsome, smart husband, Bradley was the type of guy that you can only have a crush on and date because he was too extreme. His handsomeness, the way he was speaking, would make any woman drop their panties for him. 1 week later, we were still staying with Bradley. Well, most of the time I was with him in the house. He is a very cool guy, carefree, talkative, and funny. He easily adjusted to the new environment and it was going well for him. I had seen him doing workouts a few times in the morning. His abs were something else. I felt like I would touch them. I had so many dirty thoughts for the poor guy, and I really wanted to stop thinking like that with my husband's friend. During that week, I remember that I was in the kitchen preparing breakfast for both me and him. He came in wearing only a very tight vest and jogging shorts. He just stayed with me in the kitchen, keeping me company. only if he knew that his company was a destruction to me. He started asking me about my relationship or my marriage with Tony, wanting to know how it was. I told him what he needed to hear and found it enough to share. I couldn't tell him everything about my marriage. Yes, he was my husband's friend, but I couldn't tell him everything that is going on between Tony and I. Mind you, that time, Ton and I had been arguing a lot lately about him being always absent even when his friend is around. That led to a very heated and biggest argument. My husband and I were slowly drifting apart. Yes, our connection and love would always be there, but we were drifting apart. I felt like he was trying to push me away because even when he is under stress and pressure, he no longer confides in me as his wife. I would sometimes wonder who he confides to if he was shutting me out the way he was doing. It really hurt me having to beg every day for your partner to give you the attention that you need. The more I was spending time with Bradley, the more we got closer. I ended up confiding in him about Tony's behavior because it was really shocking to me. I didn't know who to talk to, so Bradley was the only person who was willing to listen to me vent about my marriage. I know I shouldn't have done that, but what I was supposed to do. Because I couldn't keep my sadness and heartbreaking moments inside my chest. I was going to burst, and a lot would have been destroyed. So Bradley prepared snacks for us, especially marshmallows and hot chocolate, which were my favorite when I was not feeling well or feeling down. I appreciated the time and ear that Bradley had led me and made me vent in him. I needed to offload, my chest was too heavy. As I was crying like that, Bradley hugged me and promised me that he would speak to Tony. Since Tony had been so distant, especially after the argument that we had, he started going to work early in the morning and came back late at night. Bradley's hug was actually what I needed. You know, the kind of hug that is warm and welcoming, the one that makes you feel like everything is going to be okay. So as we were still hugging, I found myself kissing him. We kissed, and things got out of hand. A kiss escalated. We ended up doing the deed in the lounge. Mind you, that time I had forgotten that Tony had recently planted CCTV cameras in the house. I had completely forgotten about that, and Bradley didn't even know about it. Since that indescribable day, Bradley and I continued seeing each other. Sometimes we would get intimate in my marital home, while some other time we would go to a nearest hotel to book for the day. We couldn't book for the night because my husband was going to be suspicious. We did our thing carefully because if Tony was to find us, we both knew that we were going to suffer the consequences, and I would be left a divorced woman. Bradley was giving it to me so sweet and gentle. He was very explosive. He knew how to explore a woman's body and make her feel foreign and end up speaking in tongues. He knew every spot to touch to make me submit to his commands. Well, he loved gentle, rough, intimate moments. I didn't even know that there was actually gentle, rough type of intimate sessions. I learned a lot from Bradley, even some new positions that someone would think are extreme, but they are very enjoyable and nice. I was not a submissive wife to my husband, but with Bradley, I was submissive without even thinking twice. My husband loved missionary intimacy, while Bradley loved exploring new positions, and I learned a lot. I mean, my own husband was a 1 or 2 rounds type of person, then he would get tired and fall asleep. Bradley, on the other hand, was a dragon. He was spitting fire when it comes to intimacy. He would make you go all night, and even wake you in the morning. He would always leave my private area burning and tired. The guy knew his thing, and up until today I complimented him. He is the best. My relationship with Bradley went on and on for like 9 months. We were still careful, but Bradley didn't want us to be private. He wanted us to be seen in public as dating people, and that was not what I had wanted. As much as I was enjoying the intimacy and everything that Bradley was offering, but I loved my husband so much. I wouldn't just leave my husband for an intimacy freak like Bradley. He is doing me good and exploring my body the way I had been desiring, but I wouldn't divorce my husband to be with him. He didn't understand that our relationship was an intimate relationship only and nothing more or less. But the poor guy had caught feelings, and that was not what we had agreed on. It was purely and strictly intimacy. Weeks later, I ended my affair with Bradley. I felt like I had destroyed my marriage and went against my wedding vows. I shouldn't have allowed temptations and desires to control me like that. I should have respected myself and my marriage with Tony. Bradley had started to catch feelings, and it was not looking good because we would sometimes argue about his obsessive behavior. I don't know why he was suddenly obsessed because we had an agreement of no strings attached, but he decided to attach strings on our thing and the whole thing got crushed. I went back to my marital home. I wished to change the location and buy a new home for Tony and myself because the house held so many memories. Even the memory of myself committing adultery for the first time was in my marital home. I felt like I had disrespected my husband in the worst way possible, and there was no way to undo what I had done. I know I had wanted or craved for Bradley for at least one night, but it shouldn't have escalated like it did. And guess what happened? I was F***ed. Few days later, Tony was back at home. Well, he was working at home most of the time. The guilt was eating me up like a deadly disease. I had tried to act normal around my husband, but I couldn't shake the feeling that he knew something was wrong. I couldn't bear looking at him and acting like a happy wife while I knew what I had done. Tony, being as nonchalant as ever, didn't seem to notice anything amiss. The guilt and anxiety of my abomination grew with each passing day. The following week, it was a Monday afternoon. I was watering the garden when our family lawyer came to the house. I was so confused by why Hamilton, our lawyer, would come to our house. I knew that he wouldn't come if it was not important or urgent, so I started getting palpitations. My mind drifted to Tony. I had thought something had happened to him. I couldn't bear to see myself being a widow. My mind was busy taking me to places that I didn't want to see myself in. Hamilton asked to speak with me and told me that it was important. I knew that he wouldn't leave his specious and fancy office and come to my house if it wasn't important. So we went inside and he gave me an envelope. He told me that he was sent by Tony and that I should read everything properly first before signing. Another thing he told me was that I was free to fight and try to save whatever that would be lost after signing, but he didn't think fighting would be a good idea. The way he was speaking in riddles, I got conscious and ended up opening the envelope. When I opened the envelope, I couldn't believe my eyes. I felt like my heart was stepped on by an elephant and my body was hit by a truck. I was lost in words. I told Hamilton that I wouldn't let Tony divorce me without a fight and I was not going to sign those divorce papers. I didn't know why Tony would want to divorce me. That time, the abomination that I had done didn't even cross my mind. I kept trying to sort the puzzles and asking myself, why would Tony suddenly want to divorce me? Few days later, Tony and I were in the magistrate's office with both our lawyers. I couldn't just let him take everything away from me. I was asked to state why I didn't want to sign the divorce papers. I told them that I couldn't let Tony, my husband, leave me without any explanation on why he would wake up and decide that he wanted to divorce me and take our home. And I couldn't just let him break my heart like that. When it was Tony's turn to speak or defend himself, he said the worst hurtful things to me. He called me names and told me that he was regretting ever marrying me. If he knew I was a witch that I was, he wouldn't even bother looking my way the day we met. He was furious to see that even temple veins were popping. He looked murderous, and he wasn't the Tony that I had been married to. He then dropped a huge bomb at me that I had long forgotten about. He told me that he knew about my affair with Bradley, his friend, and that I had been seen going to the hotel with Bradley when he was at work. I couldn't believe how he got the information. He told me that he had been acting like everything is normal and okay, but he knew all the dirt that I had done, so he wants nothing to do with me, and I should just go back home and continue running my internet cafe and a coffee shop. I denied every allegation that he was accusing me of. I even denied being in any relationship with Bradley. While I was still fighting, screaming, and kicking, Tony gave Hamilton a USB, and there it was. All the evidence of my abomination was there. I didn't know what to say nor do. I had no way back. I didn't even know how to defend myself. It was really humiliating and embarrassing. I tried to apologize to Tony, but he wanted to hear nothing from me. I had no other choice but to obey his request. I went back home and signed the papers. My heart was shuttered. Even today, when I think of everything, my heart breaks. I miss Tony so much, and I regret everything that I have done. What should I do to get my husband back? I can't let him go like that. I need advice quickly.